Hello, everybody. Welcome to Intuitive Eating Wednesdays. It is now Wednesday, March 15th, and it's 1:30 Eastern Time. And let me know if anybody's here with me. I put out there that we're going to go a little bit deeper into the topic of today for Intuitive Eating Wednesday. And just want to make sure that some people are here. So I'm going to give it a moment to see if anybody's joining me. So I'm introducing Intuitive Eating Wednesdays as a way for me to answer your questions live. So I know that a lot of you have some questions and struggles around intuitive eating and emotional eating. And I put this question into my private Facebook group. If you'd like me to help you and answer some of these questions, I want to do so. So, hey, Leanne. Oh, good. Leanne's here. Okay. I always like to know when people are here, so I'm not talking to myself. So who else is here with me? As you pop in, just come and say hello. It'll be great. And if you are listening to on the replay, so I do know that a lot of people said they can't make it now live because it is the middle of the workday, and you're going to be listening to the replay, which is great. So just as I ask questions, go ahead and post comments, and I'll come back and check them and I'll answer them without a doubt. Okay. So, hey, Leanne. So I hope things are going well with you, Leanne. I know from your posts in our group that you're having an awesome week. So congratulations to you. Okay. So I just wanted to introduce Intuitive Eating Wednesdays to you. Probably most of you have gotten my email about it. So I'm figuring out how can I help those who are struggling with food, with their body, with emotional eating. How can I help you guys more than I'm already doing? So I decided to start this initiative and we're going to see how it works. So feedback from you is going to be really important. So I encourage you to email me, message me, let me know how you like it and what you'd like to see. So I like this to be interactive. So as I'm talking about our topic for today, please post your comments and let's, kind of talk back and forth as well. So what I did is I asked those in my community, what are your biggest struggles around intuitive eating and or emotional eating? And to email me or to post in our group. And I got a lot of questions. And so what I'm going to be doing is each week I'm going to highlight one of those questions, one of those struggles. And I'm going to write a blog post about it and create a freebie for you so you can actually take it a little bit deeper and implement some of the strategies that I'm going to teach you. And you will receive an email every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. with an introduction and a link to the blog post and a link to the freebie. And then come here at 1:30 Eastern for a live training. And I might play around with the time, because if I'm getting feedback from people that this is not the best time for everybody and people want to show up live, then we'll see what I can do to adjust that. Okay, so this week's question, let's dive right in. So for those of you who else is here with me, I see I've got a couple of eyeballs they're showing me. So we've got Leanne. If anybody else is here, just go ahead and say your name, say where you're from. I would also love to know how you heard about this training and Intuitive Eating Wednesdays. If you heard about it through my email list or from social media, it's always nice to know where you're coming from. So today's question, and I have a couple of notes here listed on my agenda, so let me go ahead and take a peek at that. Okay, here's the question. I've been trying intuitive eating, but I just don't have the willpower to stick with it. How can I strengthen my willpower backbone? And, I really love this question because, and I wrote that in the blog, right? I love this question because if you have struggled with dieting before, if you've been on diets, then you know that you've got to pull up as much willpower as you want, as you need to not eat certain foods that you want, right? That's what dieting is all about. Not eating many foods that you love. Certainly, hopefully you're eating foods that you like, but most of the time if you're on a diet, you're eating what you think you should be eating, not necessarily what you love or want to eat. And so with willpower, I want to give you the actual definition. If you go to look up in the dictionary, the definition, it's control of one's impulses and actions or the ability to control the way you behave. So you hear the word control. When you think about the word control, what comes to mind? So for those of you who are on live with me, go ahead and put an answer into the comment box. When you hear control the way you eat, control the way you behave, what comes to mind? I'll give you a minute to think about that. Go ahead and put up your, put a question, put a comment there, put your answer. Because, when I think about control, when I think about willpower, I'm basically, asking myself to do something that I don't really want to do, right? Would you agree to that? So you're asking yourself to do something you don't really want to do. So you're going to a party this weekend and there's going to be a lot of great food there that you are going to love, but if you are on a diet or you think you shouldn't be eating that food, what's going to happen is you're like, okay, I have to have enough willpower not to eat it. So you're really trying to control yourself from not eating that food, right? So it's asking yourself to do something you don't really want to do. Would you agree to that? And we have to have enough willpower to actually succeed in that. And what happens if we don't? If we don't, we feel like a failure. And that's what happens in dieting, and that's what fuels dieting. I want you to understand that this concept of willpower is in fact a dieter's word. It's a dieter's way of thinking. And we don't need willpower in intuitive eating. I think that's such a beautiful thing, right? In the practice of intuitive eating, there is no willpower required. Okay, Leanne says control equals failure. Okay, so Leanne says control equals failure. So Leanne, why do you think that, right? Why explore that a little bit more with me. Why does control equal failure? I think you're probably going to say, because if I'm trying to control myself, eventually I can't control myself anymore. I eventually eat. Eating leads to overeating or binging, and now I feel like a failure. So go ahead and type in what your thoughts are on that. But for the most part, that's what happens with willpower. And that's what happens when you're dieting. And that's what happens when you're trying diet after diet and you say, I just need to have more willpower. And I hear that a lot. I hear that from people, why can't I just have the willpower to follow my diet? Why can't I just have the willpower to say no to temptation? Leanne says exactly. Okay, so I got it right there. I got it. Exactly what you're thinking, right, Leanne? Okay, and that's what a lot of people are thinking. Binging will follow. Exactly. So that's what happens. So if you understand that trying to have willpower, which basically is asking you to go against what is perhaps a natural desire, foods that you really do love, foods that you enjoy eating, and now you're saying, no, I cannot have those foods. I have to have willpower not to have those foods. Eventually, it's going against what is normal and natural for you. Should you love to eat something like that or love to eat a sweet and you say, no, can't have it. Eventually, what happens is when we try to go against something that's normal and natural for us, we're going to rebel. And we're going to rebel big time. Okay, so who else is with me here and who else has a thought about that? And when I say rebel big time, exactly like Leanne is saying, right? It's going to lead to overeating. It's going to lead to binging. And then it's going to lead to feelings of failure and loss of self-esteem. And then it's going to fuel the vicious cycle of dieting. And so in intuitive eating, we do not need willpower. Because in intuitive eating, we take the conditions off our food, right? That's what we do. There's no good food. There's no bad food. If we take the conditions off our food, that means food doesn't have the power over us anymore, right? It loses its almighty appeal. We don't need to have the willpower. Now, even better, once you really learn to trust in your inner signals as your guide to eating, you're not going to have to rebel anymore against any of those diets that are telling you not to eat what you truly want to eat. They're not telling you what to eat and what not to eat because you are in charge. You are in charge, okay? No control needed. So I'd rather not even say or use this word control anywhere. Instead, I want to empower you to have you realize and recognize that you're in charge. You're in charge of your food choices. You're in charge of your body. Okay, thoughts on that? So back to the question. So this person in my private group who asked me this question, You know, let's go back to the question. Hold on, where's my question again? Let's go back to it just to refresh. I've been trying intuitive eating, but I just don't have the willpower to stick with it. How can I strengthen my willpower backbone? Again, that was the question, right? So what do I want to say? I want to say, if you are quote unquote trying intuitive eating, so there's actually two things here. Trying intuitive eating to me sounds like you are on the intuitive eating diet. That you are now thinking of intuitive eating really as a diet, and that's because you're still harboring a diet mentality. Now, a lot of times people think, no, I've committed to a diet-free life, and I'm not a dieter anymore. I'm not going to diet any longer, and I'm on this intuitive eating pathway. But something happens, and this is such as this question, and it's that light bulb that actually says, you know what? I still have that diet mentality. Shifting out of the diet mentality is probably one of the hardest things to ask a dieter to do, but it's the most important thing as that very first step. Okay. All right. So, does that make sense? Does that make sense? So if you're still thinking you need willpower, you don't need willpower. No willpower in intuitive eating. You're going to learn to trust in your body, trust in your food choices, trust that your inner signals will guide your eating, and it has nothing to do with will, power, or control. It's a beautiful thing. It's really amazing. So I'm here to answer any questions on this topic. So again, we have a couple of people. I think I'm looking at the little indication here that tells me how many people are on live with us. We've got a few people on live. I'm here to answer your questions. If you have any questions around willpower, let me know. So what do we have to do? We have to shift out of that diet mentality. Very important to recognize when we're thinking of it as a dieter. And so in regards to willpower, so I've created this freebie for you. I'll pop the link in below as well. I don't know how to do it while I'm live, so I'll go ahead and, if you haven't gotten that freebie yet, I'll go ahead and put that in here. Your 3-step plan to shift out of diet mentality and the willpower trap. This is really just to get you started, but that very first step is to commit to a diet-free lifestyle. Right? To really understand that there is always going to be another diet around the corner. There's always going to be a gimmick. There's always going to be something that sounds so tempting and so sensational, and that you're going to think like, oh, maybe I should just try that. Maybe I should just try that. No, it's not going to help you. Commit to that. So go ahead and make that commitment and jot down, journal in the handout, the PDF that I provided for you, you know, how that feels for you. Okay, very important to put your thoughts down on paper and just let the pen flow. And then the second is to throw out all remnants of a dieter, right? So if you have dieter's tools at home, if you have a food scale, a measuring utensils, if you have old diets, for example, anything that reminds you of your dieting days, you want to get rid of it, chuck it. And then forget about willpower. So the forgetting about willpower is so key in reference to what we're talking about right now. If you go forth this week, and remember, this is our lesson for the week, that you don't need willpower in intuitive eating. And if you can recognize how many times you say willpower, or you say, I need to have more willpower, I want you to stop and recognize that's how a dieter thinks, and I'm not a dieter anymore. So perhaps you want to create a mantra for yourself, or something to remind yourself that when you begin to think that way, you're going to pull yourself out of it, right? That's how we change our thought patterns, and that's how we could begin to shift out of this process. So, so I'm hoping this is helpful for you. What my plan is that each week we'll touch on a different question, and the more people that are live with me, the more interaction we'll have. If you have questions, please let me know. My intention is to keep the trainings short, so that short and to the point, and really to be here for you. So if you have questions, I'm here. For those of you who are on live, I know Leanne's here. There's a couple other people. Come say hi. Who's here? I want to say hi to you, and I want to know how you found me and found the training that we're doing today. And just know that I'm going to be doing this for the next 30 days. Every Wednesday, we're going to do a trial, see how you like it. And I also want to invite you into the private Facebook group where more conversation happens on a daily basis, and I'll put that link below as well. If you have a struggle around intuitive eating or emotional eating, please send me your questions. Send me your struggles so I can address it for you. Bonnie@dietfreeradiantme.com, or just private message me and let me know what that is, and I will add it to the list so that I can answer on our weekly Intuitive Eating Wednesdays your questions answered. Okay, so we are now about 15 minutes in, and my thoughts are to keep these trainings to about 15 minutes to respect everybody's time during the day. We go longer if you have any questions for me. If not, then we'll keep to about the 15-minute mark, and I'll see you again next week. So let me know. Any questions for me before I sign off? All right, so make sure you download the freebie. And I do have a favor to ask you, actually. If you could let anybody you know who is suffering with emotional eating or chronic yo-yo dieting and who really wants to change their relationship with food, change their relationship with their body, would you share this information with them? Would you tell them to let me know they want to receive information on Intuitive Eating Wednesdays? And I'll put them on my list so they can get the weekly email, and they can come to this free training every Wednesday so I can answer their questions as well. All right? I want to help as many people as I can. It's an amazing journey, and I'm here for you. So if there's anything, please reach out to me, Bonnie@dietfreeradiantme.com. Please share this, hit the share button so more people can benefit as well. Well, thank you for those who are here with me live. I appreciate you. Any final thoughts? I'm going to just check to see. Sometimes there's a delay when the comments come in. Okay, no final thoughts right now, but if you do, after listening to the replay, for all of those who've mentioned to me, they'll come back and listen later. Hey, Leanne, you're welcome. Go ahead and pop some comments in, and I will for sure come back and answer your questions. And stay tuned for the next question that I'll be answering for next Wednesday, but be sure to get your question into me as well. All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and enjoy the freedom to eat forever. All righty, bye.